Hello, beauties. You know gray hair means business when it sets up camp right on your part line in full HD. If you clicked on this video, you're probably thinking about going gray, but every time you imagine it, you either picture yourself looking washed out or 20 years older overnight. I get it. We have been conditioned to believe that gray hair equals giving up, that it means we've stopped trying, stopped caring, or worse, started aging. But what if I told you that going gray can actually be freeing, empowering, and absolutely gorgeous when done the right way? As a hairstylist of 18 years, I am here to show you 3 smart ways to transition to gray, how to set realistic expectations, and how to avoid the biggest mistakes so you can feel amazing every step of the way. Ready? Let's talk gray. Option 1, the natural grow out. The first one is literally the most natural OG way to go gray. You just stop coloring your hair. That's it, really. You have a serious breakup with the box dye, you
step away from the salon chair
and simply roll out the red carpet for your natural grays. Now, I'm not going to sugarcoat anything, but this method is not for the impatient because depending on how long you like to keep your hair, it can take anywhere from 6 months to 2 years to fully grow it out. So the longer your hair, the longer the transition. But if you're a brave heart who's like, chop it off, I'm ready, that of course shrinks that timeline significantly. But if you're someone who likes to keep your length, get ready for a year's journey. Dealing with the skunk line is going to challenge your patience, but getting creative with your hairstyles will help hide this. You could wear your hair up in a bun, try out some beautiful braids, or even throw on a cute hat or a scarf, anything that helps play down that gray line. And if your hair is light, it is going to be more subtle and less noticeable. However, dark hair does bring that contrast, so it will be very noticeable in dark hair. The upside of this, though, is that this route is the most budget-friendly and the most hair health-friendly of them all. No more color appointments, no more root touch-ups, no monthly stress. Just let it grow, get the occasional trim or haircut, and care for your hair as usual. Your biggest challenge is simply time. Option 2, the chemical transition. All right, the second way is for my impatient ladies out there who want to see those silvers now, not next year, the chemical transition. This one gives you the fastest visual results, but it's also the priciest, most high maintenance at first, and the toughest on the hair. Here is how it works. So before anything touches your hair, you stop coloring and you let your roots grow in for about 2 to 3 months. So yes, you still have to let them come out a few inches and you have to deal with that dreaded skunk line. It's just part of the package of this process. But that is because your stylist needs to see what your natural gray pattern actually looks like. So this would be determining how many grays do you actually have growing in? Are they sprinkled evenly all over? Are they coming in just streaks, clumped in one area? A lot of times, often, you sometimes just get that gray streak in the front. Everyone's pattern is different, and that's how your stylist knows where and how to place the new color to mimic your grays to make it all blend in beautifully. This is done by lightening your hair in stages to break through the levels of hair color to get you to your gray or silver streaks that you have. With this method, you can expect to see results usually within 2 to 4 salon visits after the initial root growth period, but it really depends on how light or dark your hair is, your coloring history, and how cooperative your hair is. If your hair is already fragile and has been through a lot of coloring prior to this, like you have gone back and forth between light hair and dark hair several times, I recommend hitting pause and giving your hair a little rehab first. Things like strengthening masks and in-shower treatments are a good place to start, and I would plan a 6-week hair rehab cycle where you basically every other shampoo, you use a mask like Redken's ABC Intensive Repair treatment or K18. These are gonna help to give your hair the strength it needs to handle this process, especially if it's dark. So where these you maybe usually only opt to use like once or 2 times a month, you're gonna use them on a very, very consistent basis at first, leading up. Basically, while your roots are growing out, be diligent about keeping those ends hydrated, repaired, strengthened in the shower. The thing is that if you've got dark hair, we're not just lifting the hair a little bit. We're talking 6 to 9 levels of lift to match those grays. That's basically like taking your hair from the color of espresso to a cloud foam. Blonde hair, it's way easier because it's already light, so it requires fewer bleaching rounds to get to that gray, which is ultimately quicker and less stressful compared to dark hair. As you can see on this level chart here, the difference between a level 4 brown that has many more levels of color to lift through to get to a 10, which is required to become gray, is far greater than someone who is a level 7. And if you want to dive deeper into the level system about the whole coloring process further, because it gets confusing, I've broken it down more in depth in these 2 videos. So definitely check those out after this one. They will give you a much more clear picture of how it all ties together with the levels and lifting process. So once your stylist lightens your hair, they'll tone it to match your grays, and it will look amazing, but, and this is important, gray isn't a permanent color, it fades. So even though it looks gray on the outside, remember you've still got that lightened hair underneath. So when that gray fades, you'll see that blonde peeking through, which means glaze it again and again and again forever, which I'm just kidding there. But yes, regular glazes is going to be required every 4 to 6 weeks to keep that gray shade until all of that hair has grown out or been cut off. So it's similar in that aspect to the natural grow out phase of just the time it takes for that hair to be removed. Hillary Burton's hair is the perfect example of what your hair looks like when it's freshly glazed to match your natural gray. So we've got soft, silvery, perfectly blended gray, and it looks great on her. Now check out this next photo. This is what your hair will look like after your glaze that created that gray color fades out. So you can see that it's faded out and it looks warmer, much warmer than compared to before. And that's because the gray tone glazes are semi-permanent, meaning that they fade gradually each time you wash your hair. Now, how fast it fades depends on how often you wash your hair, the products you use, and even maybe how porous your hair is. So when it starts to disappear, that is your time to make an appointment to get into the salon for another glaze, just to redeposit the gray tone and bring back the silver magic. So while this does require maintenance, it is still leading to your end goal, which is great. I actually did this whole process on my mother-in-law. Her hair was already blonde, which made it much easier, but we lightened her hair, we toned it to match her grays, cut it, and honestly, the pictures speak for themselves. I was so proud of this work and a bit nervous as she is my mother-in-law, but she kept up with it at home with purple shampoo. She stayed loyal to glazes every 6 weeks and got regular trims, and after 8 months, she was 100% gray everywhere at this point, and this process allowed her to visually see her gray right away without having to deal with that constant skunk line. One last thing, as I mentioned earlier, this process puts your hair under immense stress. So to keep it thriving, you really want to baby it with a solid hair care routine at home. You'll want to be using those in-shower masks like Redken's Acidic Bonding Concentrate or K18. These will help your hair to stay strong. Definitely go for lower heat when you're heat styling and just be gentle with your hair in general. So if you want to skip the skunk line phase, your hair can handle it, and you're up for the temporarily frequent salon visits, the chemical transition might be your move. Option 3, the in-between transition. And now for the third and final way to go gray, the in-between transition. This one's the gray zone or middle ground. You're kind of curious or even tempted, but you're also not ready to commit 100%. This type of transition is also perfect if you've got just some grays showing up, maybe at the front, maybe just hanging out in a few areas, but you're nowhere near 50% or more gray. So instead of diving headfirst into the gray pool and going with like an all over color, this final option lets you sort of dip a toe to test the waters more. So what actually happens here? Basically, we are blending your gray in, not necessarily covering it. So think strategic foils where your grays are coming in strong, just enough to soften them. You want to ask for thin slices or weaves from your stylist so the grow out is soft. If they're too thick, it's going to be more obvious during the grow out phase, or when you just don't feel like getting them done again, really. This is the option my mom likes to do. She has gray hair mostly right in the front of her hair, and through the rest of her hair, it's more minimal. Her natural color is maybe not as vibrant as it used to be. So we opt to do a mix of soft highlights and lowlights through her whole hair to blend to match the natural color she has left in her hair. It also allows her to brighten up that natural color while blending in the gray, and it's also very low maintenance, which is the whole point of this process. She does not need to get this done on a monthly basis whatsoever. Selma Hayek is another example we can use for this. She only has some sparkles of gray just right in the front that you can see that are growing in this picture here. So if you were like her and wanted to highlight around your face to lighten your ends to help it blend, that would be a great option to break up your dark while also not getting too overwhelming with your gray. You would still need to keep this up by using a purple shampoo at home and getting a glaze at the salon done when you need one, as once the gray tone fades out, your highlighted pieces will appear a touch more warm that you can see here. It's still a low maintenance process because you will not need highlights on a regular basis. So that alone lowers the maintenance. You're just getting a glaze done and you're not gonna need to sit in the chair for hours at a time. You could also opt to low light your grays instead to match your dark hair as well. So you still have plenty of options with this transition of in between. It's just all very customizable and what you're comfortable with. The in-between transition, it has no fixed timeline because it's not a true all over color process. It removes the monthly upkeep. So most of my clients who go this route for managing their gray, they only come in maybe every 4 to 5 months for color touch-ups with the foils. It's all just really dependent, again, with what you're comfortable with and what works for you. So there you guys have it, 3 smart, realistic ways to go gray without hating the transitioning process. You have got the natural grow out, the most budget-friendly and low maintenance option, the chemical transition if you want to fast forward the awkward phase and go silver now, and the in-between transition, a middle ground for when you just want to lightly blend it in. I am curious to hear what stage you are in your gray hair journey. Let me know in the comments below, as well as any questions you may have. I hope you guys enjoyed this week's video. Leave a heart emoji if you did, and you can check out this deep dive on color theory right here. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one. Bye.